Or two of them.
Don't want them.
One meeting I brought a computer into the day.
I think he sees that he can
and I kind of like
yoga and microwaving and be happy.
kind of go that I
But 15,
All right, it's 7 o'clock. I will call this meeting to order. Do you mind doing a roll call of trustees?
Katie Hornbeck,
Present.
Carter Beck, present. Doreen Brown, present. Terry Richardson, present. Martha Montgomery, present. Sam Matthews, present. Julie Wallen,
Present. Excellent. Carter's absent because they had another baby. Excellent reason to miss the board meeting. Welcome to our visitor. Hopefully everybody's had an opportunity to review the minutes from the November and December meetings. If no changes are needed to those, let's go. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll motion to approve.
Thank you. Second?
A second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Is there any public comments?
Did you do those?
I combined it into one vote. Am I allowed to do that?
I think so.
Thanks. All right, if no public comments, we'll move to reports, starting with reports from our regional director.
Thank you. I did send it out yesterday, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I think the main thing that I sent out might be interesting, and I know Elizabeth is already going to talk about it, and as you see in your package, she's already kind of written it out for you, but the standards report was with the email I sent you yesterday, and I think I say this every year, and I don't say it just because I'm here, but Elizabeth does a really good job with the standards and keeps track of it, and has made again this list of standards that she would like to meet this year, which is kind of the intention behind this report. This is not for you to be graded by the state, or that we care about necessarily about how you.
Did you have an extra copy?
If I have an extra, yes, I do. Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I definitely. But it's kind of nice to see, if you look at the report that I sent you, and I gave you a copy now, but you can see how the first column is, which says FY 22-23, which is where Elizabeth has filled out and says that yes, we meet this standard, no, we don't meet this standard. And then the next column where it says level 3 average, you can see how other libraries in the same level, how they're doing. So you can, if it's 73%, that means that 73% is meeting that specific standard. So you can see how you're doing compared to some other libraries with the same population that you're serving. And the last one is just a combination of all public libraries, which is everything from level 1 libraries to the bigger libraries. But I think I always find it interesting to read this, and I like to spend some time on it. And but I do think that Elizabeth has pulled out the ones that are probably the most important ones to look at, and I think it's great that she has some goals, and is probably going to talk about it a little bit later, why and why not, why something is difficult to meet, why something is easier to meet, and that's kind of the intention behind it. And I did tell you, I think at the last meeting, we are working on revising this. It's been a while since we did that. 2018 was the last time this came out, so in a couple of years you will see some new ones, but I think in general you're doing really well with these standards and working on it the way you should be doing it. Do you have any questions about this, or do you want to just wait for Elizabeth to take that?
I'm okay waiting for.
Yeah, I'll wait.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm curious to know what the social media standard is. Because I feel like we do a fair bit of social media.
That might have been the policy that we just voted on last time.
Yeah.
This was submitted in July 2023.
Yeah.
So, and then we voted on updating our policy, because I knew it was when we weren't meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's something I want to say too, and I think because you've made this list, some of this you already met. So that's great. we do have some training sessions coming up at the Red River. One is coming up on the 23rd, which is the customer service one, which we already have a bunch of people signed up for. I think that's going to be a good one. Selena Harmon from East Tennessee is coming to do that for us. And then we have an IT roundtable at the end of January, 31st of January, and that is our IT staff, which is, we have, each region has an IT staff member that his sole purpose is to travel to the libraries in our region to help them with technology. But we also have other regions that we work with, so that roundtable is actually going to be 3 of those coming to us and doing a roundtable for our librarians. So it's going to be I think it's going to be a good session. We're going to talk about technology planning, tech grants, and what libraries need, and possibly some E-rate and some bigger technology needs. So I think that's going to be a good one. I think that's really all the highlights I need to mention. I think some of these are more like internal for Elizabeth.
Thank you. We'll move to the library director's report.
Okay, I have one report that combines November and December this time. We were a little slower, but still got a lot done. First thing, we conducted interviews for a part-time library clerk, and we hired a young lady named Tiffany. She's been there about 2 months. She's doing really, really well. She's doing all the social media, actually, for like Larry specifically. So if you've noticed, Larry's page has taken off. He now has book recommendations every week. He's hiding bookmarks in the library for kids to find, and if they find them, they get a sticker that has him on it. So she's done quite a bit, and I had her work on the Word of White House, but she's doing really, really well and taking over a lot of the marketing for the library.
I loved the Elf on the Shelf.
She did all of them.
Social media.
All of them.
Fantastic.
And that was her idea. She's like, can I have my own elf here at the library? I was like, sure, here you go. Have at it.
So clever.
One of the other things that happened, we did a regional check-in, directors check-in in November. So that's something that the region does where they have all the directors meet. We get to talk about different things that we're all dealing with. And that particular one, I think the main things were collection development, training sessions, and then actually leading our overdrive. So those items you see on Libby, some of them we purchased, and once they kind of expire, we do actually need to weed them out so they're not just hanging around there. So that was one of the topics we talked about. We had our board meeting, which you guys voted on the minutes. And then the quarterly one-on-one, so I do that with my staff every quarter. I'll sit down with them individually, block out a certain amount of time for us to talk about where they are with their goals, their projects, any concerns they have. I would think it's a really good time for us to just, like I said, discuss and make sure everyone's on the same page and nobody is having any issues that they need resolved. And so one staff member asked if we could do it monthly, so I'm actually going to start doing it monthly this year. Another thing, so the region had a training called Working with Your Board, and at that training, there was lots of good topics, but the biggest takeaway, at least for me, was the board orientation packet. I know most of you have gone through the board orientation that I do once you get onto the board, but actually they had a good checklist. I'm going to go through it to make sure I'm not missing anything that would be helpful to share before you guys actually start. So, do you want to say something about that?
No, just you, the first one who said that you're actually going to use that training from the staff.
Good. We also had a budget committee meeting, which I will have a presentation about that later. And then the region also had, they've been busy, culture making for leaders, and I also really enjoyed that training as well. The presenter explained how really all of us affect culture, but also how stress can affect us and how stress affects your staff and how you respond to the stress and respond to the pain. And it was very interesting. What I really, like, at least for me, took away was self-care. She had a section on that and what to do before work to help you kind of be already de-stressed during work and then after work. And she had a clocking out routine. She was like, create a clocking out routine so that before you even leave, you kind of leave everything that you were dealing with at the building and you're not taking it home with you. So that was pretty interesting and something I probably will implement. Now, as far as library activities, H.B. Williams does a school night once a year, and I was not the one who attended. The youth services librarian and the library supervisor went, and basically at that night we take bookmarks, we take calendars, we take theme packs, and we just let the schools see everything that we have to offer. The kids get to interact, the parents get to interact, make sure if they don't have a card yet, they can get a card, so that way the kids aren't missing out on anything we provide that maybe their school library doesn't provide. We had the award banquet, so Katie was there, and she was awarded 5 years of service to the library board, so thank you, Katie, for 5 years of service. We do appreciate it. Also, we had our sprinkler system tested, so every once a year we get that tested to make sure it works, and if there's a fire, we are okay. Okay, and then Hendersonville, we went, myself, the children's librarian, and my new intern that, well, she hasn't started yet. She starts next Tuesday, but she wanted to go ahead and come with us because we were going. We went over to Hendersonville Public Library to see their homeschool group, and so that top picture actually on the report is a picture of one of their stations. So how they had it set up was they had different tables with different stations. One might be reading, one might be building, one might be engineering, math, and the kids got to come in and work with whatever subject they wanted to. The children's librarian was in there to kind of help facilitate, but most of it was kind of self-run, and it was really neat to see that. And then one other thing I didn't put in your packets, because after seeing the homeschool program, we just decided to check out the library and make sure there was anything else really cool. And they had made this little magazine for the tweens. And inside the magazine were the events they had going on, new books they had released, coloring pages. One of them had a quiz. So this one's ours because we decided to copy it. So you see our name on the back. So this is, I'm not sure, I think she's going to do one monthly. Yeah, this is January 2024. So it was really neat, and the team so far have said they liked it. So we were like, well, why not steal the idea too? So yeah. Then we also did Christmas on Main Street, so that bottom picture is Santa Claus with the staff down there. We did actually have to end the event a little early because of the rain, but we still had an estimated 400 people come through the building because the chamber moved their 5 crafts into the storytime rooms. We had 5 crafts going in the storytime room and then Santa. So it was a really good event, and I mean, even though we ended early, I had no complaints, so it was a good turnout. We also had a guest writer and editor, Jeannie Hart, come, and so that middle picture is actually her next to Larry. She really likes Larry. But she had some really, really good tips on not just improving your writing and publishing, but also the editing stage, which was the first time I've had somebody come and talk to the writing group on the editing stage, which was very helpful since a lot of them are trying to publish or have actually already published, but maybe didn't find the best editor, and so now we kind of know what to do for that. So very, very helpful. Last thing on there, so the wish tree. So the Friends of the Library will put up a tree every year with ornaments on it, and the ornaments have items that they want somebody to purchase, and when they purchase the item, bring it back to the library, they get a Friends membership for the year. So we had a pretty good turnout with patrons, but then the Friends decided to just go ahead and buy the rest of it that was left over, so actually we got everything we asked for this year. So it really helps us because now I don't have to use my funds to buy anything that wasn't purchased, and that's kind of how we made our steam packs. That's how we made a lot of our kits, and so we're going to use these kits actually for the adult educational ones, which are on our long-range plan. So any questions? Those kind of our activities for November, December.
I have a question. I know that Courtney got her master's degree.
Yes.
Did you have like any celebratory event for that?
We did. We had a catered meal.
Oh, okay, good.
And balloons, and she didn't like the balloons, but that's okay. We still gave her balloons.
I just wondered.
Yeah. The November performance measures, I'm probably not going to focus on this too much because I'm actually more interested in December because December is the full year and we always compare years. So just the only thing on the back side, I'll probably point out Canopy, that it is getting used more. We now had 154 plays and we had 14 new people added, so we had 77 accounts. And then also we started doing grab and go kits for our winter reading, so you will see that grab and go kits were under the kids and the tween programs. So unless there's any specific numbers, I kind of want to move on to the December performance measures, because this is, like I said, we have the entire year finished. We can compare year to year. So like specifically, if you look at the first box and you go down to total membership, and we do purge our members every year. We do a purge, that way we only have 3 years of the most current people. And so we still have more borrowers in 2023 than we did in 2022, even with keeping up with our purging system. And then if you go down to items checked out, in 2023 we did 1,000 more than we did in 2022. So we are again circulating more items than we have in the past. And even, like I said, if you look at 2023 to 2021, we had a huge jump in that year. And then if you go down to miscellaneous items and those circulations, the tech devices were up, study rooms were up quite a bit. Puzzles were down a little, same with the seats, but the steam packs were back up. Cake pans were a little lower, but outdoor items and then the honor books were really, really high. So again, we're circulating more than we have in the past. If you go down, but this is what cracks me up every time I point this out. If you go down to the library visits, and there's the next box, we actually had a few less people come in. So it's interesting to me that even though fewer people are coming in, we are having way more checkouts. So I guess the people that are coming in are very active users. But our website usage was up a significant amount, so people probably are seeing the programs that we have. I think I'm going to skip over to the back side again. You have a question?
Well, you just said that December, she's looking at, I'm sorry, I was looking here, sorry. Good, thank you. Thank you, Teresa.
I did the same thing.
And then on the back side, Canopy, we are getting more plays, I feel like, each month. And, you know, we started that, I think, at the very end of August, so that's only 3 months worth, and we have 608 movie streams. So I think it is going pretty well. And then if you go down again to the children's programs, face-to-face, go down to the yearly number, not the monthly number. So we actually offered less programs in 2023. We were at 129. 2022 we did 136. But you'll notice we had more in attendance even with less programs. Again, we're getting busier, more people are coming to our programs. Now the teen programs dropped a little bit, and I think that might be partly because some of my teens that were coming to sewing learned so much that they bought their own sewing machines and said, hey, we don't need our spot anymore, so that might be some of that problem. Which I don't know if that's a bad problem, teach them to sew on their own. So. And then if you go down to the adult yearly programs, that was a big push. We did start to offer more adult programs, and it's paid off because we've had a lot more adult programs. And then same if you go over to the devices, we've offered 144 compared to 131 last year. Now I want to jump down to winter reading. So that was our program, kind of like cover reading. These numbers were interesting to me. So we actually had less kids and teens sign up, if you look at the sign-ups compared to last year, and less teens and tweens and kids participate. But if you flip to the back side to see the final numbers, what is crazy to me is the number of kids, even though we had fewer sign up and participate, they outread the kids last year. So the number of minutes read from 23 to 22, 4,000 difference. The number of hours read, they read 73 more hours than the kids last year. So the kids that were reading, they did knock it out of the park, I will say that. So any questions about that?
I have one.
Sure.
I noticed on the materials added numbers that our total for 23 is a lot lower, well, several hundred lower than the past 4 years. Is that budget, or I'm curious
I
your
think
thoughts
that's
on
partly because now Courtney got a grant for just books this year, but I know she didn't get them spent until 2024.
Okay.
So that might be why, you know, you have a grant period. So
Right.
she actually, it was released towards the end of the year anyway, and I think she didn't get it spent in 2023. It was 2024. So it actually, I would think that too. I think we might see a bigger increase in 2024 just because of when we actually get them cataloged.
Okay.
It's not necessarily that our budget's dropped any, because ours didn't,
Right.
and actually the grant that we got, should actually increase it,
Okay.
too, so. Any other questions? And one other thing I'll point out, so right now, on the forms, we have the teen tween programs combined. We did that after COVID because a lot of our teams didn't come back. And actually our teen librarian is kind of slowly separating them back out again. So we still have some that are combined, but now she's actually gonna start offering some that are teens only. So that also might be a change that you'll see in the January, performance numbers. Any other questions? And then as far as upcoming events, there's the only major things coming up is that we've kind of, again, added the teen programs that are separate. We also have added a second adult sewing session, and then the teen sewing are meeting twice a month. So those were the few changes to our actual program. So if there's no questions there, I'm going to move down to the budget.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
About interlibrary loan services?
Yes.
I see that number is very fluid. It goes up and goes back down, and no real consistency there that I can tell. I mean, it looks like we dropped significantly from last year. And I know there were some issues with Firefly.
I think the Firefly, because it was how
couple of
long?
months, I think,
Yeah, I was
we
supposed to
had.
say, it was a couple of
Okay.
months, and we didn't have it, or that they were really telling us to back off, so in case things got lost, or it shut down, we didn't want things lost in that
Okay.
system.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the biggest cause, but then I also will mention, the other thing is people might fill out the ILO request, but if the library won't send it, then it doesn't get added to this number. So there's probably a lot of requests that never get filled.
Okay.
This isn't ones that were just requests,
No, these are
what
filled.
actually were filled.
Right.
What we actually loaned, what we actually borrowed. So there's plenty of libraries, I mean, it's their right to say, yes, we're gonna send the book, or no, we're not. And so if they're the only library in the state with that book, they might say, no, we're not coming, we're not sending it to you, so.
Do you have any feel for how much is unfulfilled? How many requests?
I'm gonna have to ask Amber that, I don't know about other, kept the statistics on that. She might have a better idea than I would, but I do know there's times she's told me, I just can't get this, I just can't get this, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, moving on to the budget. Most of our lines are okay. The only two I want to point out that are not okay, but it will be okay, so let me reassure you guys. If you go down to the 242 and 243 line, that is our water and our sewer. And the water has already been used up significantly, which is why the sewer is already in the negative. And that's partly because we added that new garden, and we were watering the garden a lot to make sure nothing died. So normally next year I don't foresee us using that much water, so I don't think it's going to be an issue. I'm not saying, hey, I think we need to increase that line. What I will probably do is, so our electric bill is actually way under budget right now. And I know we've had talks for a while about the electric and like, okay, we're having issues at the building with it being too humid or too cold or too hot. What we finally came up with, Trane finally had a great idea. They said, hey, instead of running the air 24/7, which is what we originally planned for, to keep the humidity and the temperature more consistent, they said, what if you just run the air as if you were open on Friday and Sunday? Right now, we're closed Friday and Sunday, so the air was shutting off for those full 24 hours. So we started running the air Friday from like 9 to 5, Sunday 9 to 5, and that's been able to keep the humidity at the consistent level, not getting so hot that it's melting the coffee shop chocolate, not getting so cold that Larry's freezing. So that's why we're actually a little under budget, because we had planned to budget enough for it to run 24/7. So what I'll do is I'll just move some of that money into the water line to cover us for this year. So we'll be okay there. Any other questions about budgets, concerns?
No.
Do most libraries have to deal with not melting chocolate?
No, yeah, I'm sure.
Or
Yeah, like Larry probably more.
Which he's a celebrity now. If you're not following his Facebook page, you probably should because he's very active.
Do you still have a t-shirt? Or was that just a joke? Was there no t-shirt?
For him or for people? He has one on his
I
cage.
thought there was a t-shirt that was for sale. I guess
Yes.
that was hit
Yes,
there.
we
Okay.
wrapped that up, so the Friends, finished that sale December, the same day as the Christmas parade, they stopped it. Now, they probably are going to sell them in white at the Phantom Fair. So you could purchase one of them if you want to. Okay, state standards, so like Cecilia's list is way longer than the list I have, and that's just because that's every single thing that I do have to look at. Now, some of that's real easy to meet because it's just like check out hotspots, so we're offering that. You know, are you offering colored printers or prints? And it's like, yeah. So those I don't list out as meeting because they're very easy to meet. These are the ones that we have to work a little bit harder to meet, or there's more involvement for us to meet every year. And then the ones listed below are the ones we actually did not meet, which again I think is relatively small, and I think like Cecilia shows on her data that we're probably still doing pretty well compared to those level 3 libraries. So in the 23-24, I just listed the ones that we actually will need to meet, and some of these are newer than, or I say newer, not really, but some of these, like if you look at the very bottom, the patron satisfaction survey and the image evaluation, those only come up every 3 years. So it's actually been 3 years, so they come up again. So that's why we have a few new ones listed that in the past we didn't have listed. So it's not that we won't meet these are just ones we haven't met yet because we have to do a little bit more effort. Which kind of brings me to the question of the patron satisfaction survey. The marketing committee knew they were going to take that on and come up with that and present something to the board to come up with. The image evaluation, we've done that multiple ways in the past. Sometimes the board has done it, and then sometimes they have let patrons do it. Do you guys have a preference on how you'd like to do that this year?
How did we do it most recently? Was it patron?
No, I think it was board, but we have a lot of new members. So I don't know that.
Oh, I remember it now. I can picture it.
You can? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit more?
Yeah.
So it's a form that the state has, it's in the standard book, I forget how many pages it is.
It's like 3 pages.
And you would go through the library, and so you're looking at things in the library and say, okay, how does the lighting look? How do the stacks look? How does the carpet look? How does the sign look? Okay. You're evaluating your building, your image. How does, the front desk look? How does the displays look? And like I said, we've done it both ways, so get patron feedback to see, well, what do they see when they look at it versus what does the board see when they look at it. And then all you guys have to do is complete it, we will review it, and that meets the state standards. So.
How would you, if patrons do it, how many patrons are you hoping to complete it? And
I'm trying to think when we had our patrons last, because that was 6 years ago. Oh. Well, right, if the board did it last time, then the patrons would have been 6 years ago. I think we asked a good number. I don't know why 12 is coming to mind. Okay. But I know we don't have to get that many, because there's only 7 people on the board, but we just were asking different patrons of different age and people that use different parts to ask it, to fill it out, so.
Would it be a possibility to have a mix? Like have some
Oh,
board
yeah,
members and then
have,
because then you get, because like teenagers are going to look at it differently than adults versus us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if that might give you, and then kind of average or
yeah,
just
it's
present
completely fine. There's no requirement on who completes it. It just has
to be done. And it's more for our benefit to know what we need to, how people are perceiving it.
Because I think one of the things that came from that was the image evaluation really wanted a sign that's readable from the road. And that's why we added the sign with books, so when you drive up, you can see the hours without having to get out and walk up to the building. So, I mean, it's fine to do six, it's just, what would you guys prefer?
I think Julie makes a good point. Definitely a teenager's gonna look at it differently, you know, but that's an important group.
Yeah, I mean, you think about the groups that are in there, and it seems like the teens and then probably the senior adults are the larger groups, so you definitely want them to be represented, because they're gonna be wanting very different visual aspects too.
Would you guys like the TAB board to do this? Teen Advisory Board?
Oh, that's a good idea.
They are supposed to be involved in some of the standards. So that's why I was like, maybe it's all the filters.
And that's a
the
good
ones
learning
that-
tool for them too.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, but I wouldn't want just them, there's
I was
not
gonna, I mean, I
enough.
can see that, and then maybe some of the friends, if they were interested, I would be interested in doing it, even if it's not submitted. I would love to see the checklist and just walk through it with that kind of a
Right.
filter,
Mhm.
you know, rather than just thinking about what I wanna notice, what.
Okay, what I might do, if this is okay with you all, is I might just email it out to the whole board, to the whole friends, and then to Tab and a few patrons, and just whoever
Sure,
returns it,
yeah.
she returns it.
Yeah, I like the idea of doing a mix of demographics.
And really, the more responses, the better anyway.
I agree.
Okay.
And that'll also help you see if something's coming up on multiple surveys.
Right.
It's not just one cranky person that had that day.
Right.
Okay, I can work on that. I will probably put a deadline on it just so we can know, what board meeting we wanna discuss it at, 'cause we'll review it at one of the board meetings. Do you wanna try to review it by the March meeting, or would you want to give them a little more time?
I think by March is great.
That's good.
Yeah.
And then, okay, is there any questions about the rest of it? Like I said, some of this is just, some of it we review, I put on there July, so the ones with parentheses in July, those, because we normally review those in July. The trustee certification, that's just kind of when you guys complete that. If you get it done before July of 2024, it would count for this year's standard. Deeding collection, we look at that every July. The core competencies, that's something that the state provides, but the staff technically have a year to complete that. And since I just hired Tiffany, that's a good chance that that one won't be met by this coming July. But again, it's not like the state is hammering us, it's just something to be aware of.
What does board presents the budget mean? Because I see it on everyone as not being.
Yes, so normally, way our budget retreats work, the city department heads present the budget to the BMA.
Yeah.
And actually, the state standards prefers that the board present it,
Yeah.
so that's why we just never meet it.
Okay.
That's because of the way the government's set up. Most of
Right.
your boards, your libraries are presenting to a county board. You know, so, and that county board is responsible for all those different departments. And our setup is, and actually, that's just capital stuff that we talk about. This board does approve the budget, correctly? Am I correct in that?
They make a proposal.
They make a
Correct.
proposal, so it's presented through Elizabeth to me, because I'm responsible, along with the finance director's assistants, to prepare and present a budget to the mayor and board of aldermen every year, so that's my responsibility.
Right.
So, you know, I've always taken what this board has approved, and she presents it to me, and then I make sure it gets put into the budget process, and then the board, mayor, aldermen, they do the final approval. So we're talking about semantics here.
Right.
Present, okay, you are presenting a budget that you've approved to the city, but it's just going through your library director. That's the only thing, and I don't know if she would be at fault by saying yes. I mean, who's gonna say you didn't? So
That's true, I mean, it is in the minutes here, so I guess that would be.
That's the way I looked at it, because I marked that as a question mark too, why we bring that up, because we have a really good process that works.
Yeah, plus we have a board member on the library board,
That's
a
true.
board member, so I think that
Yeah,
helped me.
absolutely.
I think part of it is being present so that you can take questions and, you know, if you do ask for an increase, somebody will be, from the board is there to say, well, this is what we were hoping for, and that shouldn't necessarily always be Elizabeth. If it was a board member, that would probably help. So the fact that Sam or Mr. Matthews is there, you might be, just say yes because of it's
Okay, if you
happening.
think that's
Yeah.
fine, I will
Yeah.
say yes for
Yeah.
that for future reference.
Yes. We got one.
I was gonna bring it up anyways, and Alderman Matthews is correct. I mean, he is on the board and he's on the executive committee too,
Right.
so, and so that's.
And on the budget committee.
And he's on board mayor Alderman, so he's gonna be one of those 5 that's gonna be voting on the budget anyway, so I think that's a big plus, and it kind of puts us in that realm. And it's just because we're one of those 15
Right.
in the state that's different, you know, and the rest of them are just different, because almost all counties will have presentations by the different constitutional positions, like your sheriff, and you know, who's voted by the public, and the mayor has no control over these different departments, trustee, assessor's office.
Right.
The mayor of Livingston County has very limited authority, really. All these people run their own departments, so they each have to present to the county commission what their budgets are going to be. And that's what I think the purpose of that and the understanding of that is.
It is, but it's still a struggle, and not to.
Is it?
Well, it is. It's often it's the library director that takes care of it, and there's no one standing behind and supporting if you know, and that's part of the intention of this standard too.
Unless they had somebody, like we do, we have somebody on the board that, right, Steve's right. Yeah, I've sat in these meetings, this is what we need.
Right.
And supports it, so. But you're all welcome to come. It's a public meeting, public comment.
Yeah.
When we have the second reading of our budget, so you're all welcome to be there and make comments and things of that nature.
I'm curious.
Little barn burner, isn't it?
I would like, Elizabeth, this is kind of a side note, but I wouldn't mind knowing when you are presenting at these meetings. I'd love to support you in that way and be available when comments come up, but I don't always know.
The study session that we have where, you know, where you present, and we go over all your budget lines and you're explaining it to the board member, and that would be they should be invited to that. That would be very helpful.
Yeah.
Yes, that would be very helpful. That's a good idea. Thank you. That's a really great idea.
And then don't forget next week at the BMA, that's when I'm presenting on Fine Free, so.
I am traveling for work, and Carter had a baby.
Is that on Tuesday?
Thursday.
Because Tuesday we have a meeting, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, we do.
Second.
Okay, so Thursday is when you're presenting, what time?
Fine.
7 p.m. Well, I don't know if I'm presenting right at 7, but it starts at 7.
Our study session's already on the budget calendar, so you already have access to that, because I can't remember what day in May.
Yes, I can email
So
that out.
you should be able to get that out to them. Okay.
Okay.
We went down a couple rabbit trails, but they were productive ones. So. Any other questions about the state standards? Elizabeth, are there any that you haven't met in the past or yet this year that you're really hoping to meet this year?
Probably, and again, this might be kind of somewhat, again, with the marketing committee, and we need to start working on this, is determine if the plan meets the community needs. That's a long-range plan. We've never really met that one, and part of that might be, again, where we kill 2 birds with 1 stone, is that survey can also be used to help determine, are we meeting that plan? So this year might be a good year to try to meet that one, since we are working on a survey.
I would love to see us as a board meet the Tennessee trustee certification one. I know sometimes that can be difficult depending on when board members come onto the board, but I'm not sure who it is, but if we can meet that this year, I would love to see that one done. Is that you?
I haven't.
Is everybody else?
I'm about halfway through.
Excellent.
I think they're not very
You have
friendly.
2 left.
Sweet.
I think I have 2 left.
I just never do this one every Thursday.
Yeah. I'm pacing myself, so I don't.
It is a lot. All right, thank you. Let's see. Anything else, Elizabeth? Or any other questions about standards?
No.
Okay. Now we'll move on to committees. The executive committee did not meet. The finance and budget committee did meet.
Yes, so this is the presentation with a few updates that I've presented to the budget committee. So I kind of explained again, our mission is to be an essential community hub that provides resources, tools, and information, and that we're really trying to budget to meet that mission. And last year, in 2023, our focus was on building maintenance. We were about 8 years old in the building. We're having different building issues, such as the hot water heater went out. We had a motor go out in one of the HVAC systems. We also focused hard on employee education, and then improvements to employee areas, such as the storage shelving and the new desk. So this year, 2024, my focus was a bit more on staffing a little bit, subscription supplies, but then really focusing on the patron area, since we focused on employees so much last year. Now, part of the things we do as a budget committee, we do look at lines that are over budget. But I want to point out, so like the memberships and dues, part of that reason why we're already almost spent the whole thing and we're not even halfway through the year is because most of my subscriptions are due up front. So it's not like that line is a problem line. Advertising and public relations were a little bit over, and partly it's because anytime that a committee meets or the board meets, I have to do a public notice and I have to put that in paper, and that costs money. So it's great that we're being more active and meeting more often, but that's part of the reason that line has gone over a little bit. So water and sewer, I already talked a little bit about that. Repair, maintenance, and facilities, not that we had any major repairs like we did last year, but again, just smaller things break. Like Ed had to fix our sink faucet this past week, and so smaller things, and they just kind of added up. And then our operating supply, not a ton over budget, but just a little bit because we're doing more programs. So the proposed increases, because we are just getting so much busier with the number of items we checked out, the number of patrons coming to programs, I was going to ask for a full-time circulation clerk. Now that is a kind of an estimated salary range. We might actually have a better estimate after the salary survey that the city's doing, whether that's an appropriate range for that position.
That's a full-time?
That is a full-time position. It would be a lower level. It's not like they would be doing programs. They would be doing more just circ desk related tasks, but that would free up the people that are doing programs to spend more time on them. Now that does not include health insurance. That is something that's a little harder to calculate, so I don't actually include that. Normally HR calculates that if we do get approved for a full-time position. Advertising and public relations. Again, I wanted to increase that slightly because we are meeting more often, and if I have to put those public notices in the paper, we need to be able to pay for those. Now, memberships and subscriptions, even though I said that line wasn't an issue, normally those subscriptions go up 3 to 5% every year, so I always just budget for that since they normally increase a little bit. The inventory supplies line, that again was just because if we're doing more programs, I wanted a little bit more to cover the cost of the supplies for those programs. So that was the total increase down there, but again, that doesn't include healthcare or anything of that nature. And I kind of explained the reasons why for each of those lines, why we were going to, why I'm asking for this increase. So I'll probably skip that slide and go to capital improvement projects. So we broke it down into kind of two separate CIP projects: furniture request and then kind of a storytime room improvement. So again, the furniture is getting a bit older. The staff chairs at the circulation desk, they're actually wearing out quite a bit, and so we do need to replace those. The other thing is when we switched the teen and juvenile sections, we didn't actually have any furniture now for the teen space that we kind of moved everything to. And then again, the children's room, which kind of ties into the storytime improvement. Since we're getting busier, Courtney has said, you know, if we remove that stage that's in there, we can actually fit more tables, we can do bigger programs in that room. The stage doesn't really get used by us. She actually doesn't really care for it because the kids climb on and jump around. So if we could remove that, then we could add more kids' furniture in there. So that's why we kind of broke it down into two projects: storytime room improvement, removing that stage, finishing off the drywall and the flooring where it's removed, and then adding those furnitures to help patrons and then the staff. So any questions? Kind of the bottom is just the overview of how much we'd be asking for total, combining the CIP and the non-CIP projects.
Honestly, the furniture line seems low. Is that
Well, I mean, the teen space is not that big, so I am limited there, and then the story time room, I still think could only fit maybe 2 more tables. So those are not a ton of furniture.
Yeah. I'm not trying to get them the best chairs. A lazy girl.
And there's state contracts on all the furniture that you're going to.
I'll have to double check for the kids. I know when we bought the desk chairs for the staff, it was through state contract, yes.
Gotcha.
So maybe a little less expensive than what
Correct.
you normally see.
Are you limited to your vendors?
Not that I know of, but again, it might just be if the state contract has it, why not go through state contract now? The kids' chairs, most of the time, you got Demco and things that are specific for libraries, so sometimes I'll start there, so.
And if she splits the teens and tweens, that would not overlap, so they would be able to use the same space, there wouldn't be need for more furniture.
So what we did, I don't think you were on the board yet, the teen room, we moved all the teen books out and we put all the juvenile room books in there. So all that furniture is fine for the juveniles, we just don't really have much for the teens now that they were moved. So it's really just, it's really just a teen space furniture. Sure. Yes, they can both use either space, like it's not like we say nobody can be in this space unless they're under a certain age. But we think it would be nice if the teens had their own space.
Sure.
They would feel probably more invited and comfortable and willing to use the space.
Would that precipitate moving some shelves?
So, no, we're hoping not. If you notice when you first walk in and you turn, there's that nook there by the emergency exit, and then right there, that shelf is the YA. So this nook is what we want to use for the teens. So it's not a big space, but again, if it's kind of their little hangout, I think it would get used. So that's why I mean, the furniture line could be a little low, but I'm thinking it's not a big space
Well,
that
I'm just thinking like
we're
teens, do they like gamer chairs, do they like bean I don't have teens anymore, but I can imagine how much it costs.
They like rocking chairs.
Yeah, they like it because they can kind of lay around, you know.
Well, they wanted to
No sofa.
send them across the street when the new rec center opens, because it's gonna have a gaming center in there.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But we're also gonna, Elizabeth has brought this to my attention about these chairs, the staff chairs. We're looking at the budget. We may be able to purchase a few of those before the end of the year, because she has some savings in some of her capital items, but I'm waiting for the salary something to give me the salary comparison to come in, and once we get that, I'll have a better idea whether she can spend that money towards that, or if we need to use it to increase some of her salaries for some of her employees. So, but we'll do what we can.
That was one of my questions, which I didn't think to ask when the budget committee met, but do we budget for, aside from the salary study, but just annual increases in pay for your staff?
I mean, in the past, we always give a 2.5% raise, and then
Cost of living, yeah, we've been working on that, so, that's not decided by this, it's the mayor alderman that decide whether or not there's gonna be a raise given.
Okay,
We have
and then that's just put into our budget?
Yeah, we put that into the budget, actually, HR writes in all the salary lines. She's really only responsible for the training line, and then all of her contractual and merchandise and that type of thing, capital items. But all the pay, benefits, and all that, that's all programmed into HR. Yeah,
so yes, if the board of mayor aldermen and approve it, we will get the raise like everyone else in the city. And we have always in the past, but we'll see what the salary survey says, and that might change things this year.
Right.
We need to vote on this.
Yes, that's correct.
So we're voting to approve this budgeted proposal, which we're asking for a $60,358 increase in the budget. That's what we're voting on?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the 24-25 budget?
Move to approve.
Anyone second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? All right, then that passes.
Okay, if you don't mind me just mentioning this, of all the departments that I have, the library is the only one that the state requires to spend more money each year.
For the same amount, for the same amount.
Well,
You could technically keep it the same.
That's
and
the only
you'd
one,
be fine.
so, just so you know, we're definitely not gonna reduce it.
I
We're
know.
not gonna cut employees or anything, because we have to spend,
Right.
be the last department to get a cut. We'd have to be really hurt.
So we could get another lizard.
Somebody, I'm gonna say, the vet said he never has seen a chameleon that big and healthy before, and so Lisa, who left, is like, well, that means we need to breed them, right? And I'm like,
Or just get him a friend.
So educational.
Yeah, we still haven't decided when Larry finally passes, are we gonna tell the kids he passed, or are we gonna tell them he went to college and just go another? We haven't decided.
You know,
yet.
cliche.
Yeah, he went to college and go to another one.
That's funny.
It looks like the marketing committee did not meet, but there's a policy update.
Yeah, they did vote for one of these through, email because it was a pretty simple change, but then I forgot one aspect, so we might have to discuss that a little bit. So if you guys remember, part of the long range plan, we're adding museum passes, so I'm actually working on trying to get those purchased this month, so that's why we need to get this in policy. So the museum policy committee was like, yes, we're fine with one pass per, card, and also actually I added on here one, adult educational pass, or kit, because we're adding those as well from the wish tree. The thing that was not really discussed was, do we want the museum passes to be renewed? Most items can be renewed if nobody's waiting for 2 weeks, but since this is more of a specialty item, do we want them to be renewed? And then the second thing, which I completely forgot about again, was because I was going to go present to the BMA, and I was thinking, oh, we're going to find free, but we are keeping fines on specialty items. Do we want to make this a specialty item that still has fines?
So, if it's renewed and it follows the renewal circulation policy, it can be renewed twice.
It could be.
And
if
it could
nobody's waiting.
be, how long until it's actually going to accrue any fines? If it's marked as a specialty item. So you get 2 renewals, so that's.
Well, let's say we went fine free with it.
Right.
So you check it out, and then you get 2 renewals, that's 6 weeks with the item. Then when it's a week overdue, they get charged the cost of the item. And so some of these passes are $125, so they would be charged the cost of the pass. Now, when they bring it back, that fine gets waived. And there would be no fee. Or you could charge a fee, and then if they bring it back and it's late, they have to pay a fee for it.
Is there anything else that is not renewable?
In the past, theme packs were not. Now, we changed that to make them renewable because we have enough of them. When we had so few of them in the collection, we wanted them to come back, and so they were not renewable.
So the museum passes are for specific places.
Correct.
So how many passes per site do you have?
It will vary. So, like the Custom House in Clarksville, we actually already have those because they just donated them. I got 2. I think the Frisk said they're giving us 2. The Hermitage, I'm probably just going to buy one because they're the pricey, that's $125. The Lane Motor Museum, I think, are around $60, so I might buy 2 of those. So I suspect most of the museums will probably have 2 of them, but unless I just swing in and just do 2 for the Hermitage, then it might be 2 for all of them.
I kind of feel like, why would you need to renew? It seems like that's something you're gonna have to
get
plan
COVID or
on.
something like that.
I guess, but 2-week period. That feels like if you're gonna plan an outing within 2 weeks. I mean, I don't have a problem with them renewing it unless somebody else has a hold on it. Is that something you can put a hold on?
Yes, you could.
And they have to actually physically return it? It's not like a virtual checkout?
Correct. They have to physically return it because they have to scan it, I believe, at the museum.
Yeah. I don't know.
And they can't use it more than, so if you're at the museum, for example, the Frisk, and you used it the first week and you wanted to go back 2 weeks later, and
No,
maybe
I-
take
no.
somebody else with you.
Yeah, you can use them again.
You can reuse it,
Yes.
You can just check out one at a time.
but you could use it multiple times at the site.
Is it assigned to a specific person when they
The
go to the
White House
museum?
Library.
Okay, but
So
they
they-
could give it to their friends or family to use,
exactly.
and it may, that's what, something of that nature.
That's true, they could pass it on.
Which again, kind of wants you to not be able to renew it, because then it's more likely to get lost.
Yeah.
That's true, I do feel like the longer it's out, it could, now, normally, most of the museums, if it gets lost, you can file that, we'll have to send you a one without charging you, and I think they can deactivate that one, but, I mean, that's gonna be a whole process too, and that would
Right.
take time, it's not like.
And it's gonna delay other people.
Exactly.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm fine either way. I actually put in it on number 9 that all items, technology devices in museum passes may be renewed twice. So right now, the technology devices don't renew. And I'm gonna say, why not, just like you did, make it for museum passes.
And if they don't renew it, they bring it back, and 24 hours later, they can recheck it out.
Correct.
Right.
If nobody was waiting.
Right.
I mean, it's fine if you wanna say.
I feel like I'm pro not renewable. I'll just step out and say
Not
it.
renewable.
And then if you do get COVID, you can wait a day after you turn it, and then even turn it in before your 2 weeks is up.
I mean, it's not like there's necessarily a mad rush.
Right. I don't think there's a lot of awareness of it.
There's been a few patrons that have actually come in and asked,
That's awesome.
because wherever they moved from, the library there did it.
That's great.
Will there be, when we go fine free, will there be,
That's
Like-
the other thing we need to decide.
Okay.
Do we wanna make this one of the specialty items that approves fines? Or do we want it to be fine free?
remind me, when we go fine free, what items will continue to have, if we go fine free, what items?
Like the special.
The
Like what are
hotspots, and then the tech devices, which are the Chromebooks, the tablets, the Kindles.
Okay. I would say, I agree, let's do, my opinion is not renewable, like that it doesn't automatically renew. Policies aren't set in stone, like if we, as, it's so new, it's hard, I just feel like we're taking a best educated guess.
Well, and I
as
will
far
say,
as-
the presentation I went to, I believe they actually only gave them 7 days,
Okay,
and they did not let them renew it. Now, again, they could check it out multiple times for the year, but they had to bring it
Okay.
back.
yeah,
So I think we're actually giving them longer periods, I gave them 2 weeks, so if you really couldn't get to it in 2 weeks,
right,
I'll let you let somebody else have a turn.
yeah, that's what I'm leaning towards.
I think the real question is the fine free. I agree about not renewing. But if it's fine free, there's less reason for them to actually return it. Until it goes up to 6 weeks.
No,
But it will
no,
automatically
won't.
renew.
It wouldn't go,
It wouldn't renew.
it wouldn't renew, so they have 2 weeks with it, and then they get charged the cost of the item.
Right.
And if they get charged the cost of the item, they can't check out anything else
Anything.
in the building. So they're at the incentive to bring it back if they wanna use the library for anything else. So,
Which I think is all the more reason to not automatically renew it, because we'll get it back
Right.
sooner. When they check it out, what does that process look like? Are they informed of the cost at that time? Like,
Is
do
it
they
on
have
the
to
back?
sign something? Do they, like,
actually, we're trying to get away from the forms. We
Okay.
did have the forms, we had the steam packs, but we're trying to get away from them. So it's gonna be set up similar to steam packs, in that we'll have them in a backpack, and we actually wanna put, books or items that relate to the museum in the backpack.
oh, right,
And the backpack will be zip tie closed. That's actually what we do with the steam pack, so that way nobody can open it up in the building and take anything out. So when they check out, we can just kind of tell them, hey, this one is one of the few items that does not renew. You need to bring it back in 2 weeks. And then if we decide to make it even fine free, we can just say, if well, we're not fine free yet, but once we go fine free, we could say, if you are past a week past bringing it back, you'll be charged the cost of the item.
Will there be like a little card or something
what I
that'll
was
say what the cost of the item
We have
actually
to
is?
put that in there in the backpack.
Or even the sticky label? Lost?
item replacement cost. Yeah.
The old rec.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's a lot of like,
I know.
just doing the best guessing is what I feel like, but,
I do like that it's in a backpack, because I'm just envisioning a path sliding down between my seat and the console and getting forgotten, and then when we clean out the car for vacation, we find it, and we think, like the old Blockbuster videos, you know? You're like, no, we turned it in. No, we didn't. And so I like that it's in a backpack, so it's easier to remember to return it after you use it.
Yeah, I certainly think we should make sure that the parents know what the cost of it is, because it could shock them if they
Yeah.
use it.
it's not a $20 book, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure.
Yeah, I think we'll also probably put it in the backpack.
I
with
like
all
that a lot.
information.
Do we have to vote tonight on the fine-free part?
Well,
I
I'm
don't-
presenting next week to the BMA, so if you wanted to not be as part of the specialty items, I probably need to know for next week. Does that make sense?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I just wasn't sure since the fine-free wasn't an actual policy yet, if we needed to. I think, if I'm understanding everything correctly, we're okay with this, we'll vote on this policy as written, and then yes, to include it in the specialty item.
So, wait, you do want it to improve fines, or you don't want it to improve fines?
I think the way number 9 is written,
Okay, something else on the side.
it says all items, technology, devices, and museum package may be renewed 2 times. But it says except, so you're already saying it can't be.
Right, that means
Okay.
you can't be.
After the renewals, materials must be returned to the shelf for 24 hours. Doesn't say anything about fines. does
No,
it?
not there.
Okay.
If
Is
we
there,
wanted
is
to,
it written somewhere?
if we wanted to add a fine to it down under the fines and services in the box, we would need to add the fine here.
Right.
But if you just want them to be charged the cost of the item, then don't put it as a specialty item.
Okay. That's what I was thinking, is that they would just be charged the cost of the item, because we're not renewing it.
I think that's a fine.
Okay, excellent.
That doesn't affect your ordinance change, does it?
Nope, it does not.
Okay, good.
It does
I'm
not.
gonna say we'll have to get an amendment at the first reading.
It does not affect.
We
it.
wouldn't want that.
No, we can't, I mean, it's up to you, that's what you guys are here for, so if we need to do it, we'll do that.
Okay. So, is there a motion to approve the circulation policy as written?
Motion to approve.
Anyone second?
I'd second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Then that passes.
That was Marshall's second, right?
Yep. Thanks, Martha. Is there any unfinished business? Okay. And our new business is, tonight we're doing a director evaluation, and this is where Elizabeth will step out. Jerry, can we move into that room and talk around the table, or do we have to stay in here to?
Well, we're being recorded.
Generally, we close the meeting and then you finish, I mean, I usually adjourn the meeting and then you do the evaluation together collectively. I usually leave, but I'm gonna stay until you guys are done.
Okay,
But, I'll turn off the recording.
that's my preference.
Yeah, I'll turn the recording off and you guys can have your discussion and that
Okay.
type of thing for the evaluation, and then we should be good.
Okay, but we
Pretty
need
much
to
the way we
adjourn
normally do it.
before that?
Well, if we stay in the condition we are now, we would be recording the meeting. But I know in times past, we weren't in this situation where we had recordings, and
Yeah.
you would just, at the end of the meeting, we would leave and you guys would do your evaluation. I mean, you can do that, that way, but
Well, I mean.
generally evaluations are done in a public meeting, but
Oh.
if for any of my other department heads, the only one, department head, there's no department head that has a public evaluation. This is the only, she's the only department head that has another board that evaluates her. And I
Right.
still have to do my evaluation and determine if she gets a raise or not, based on merit. So, it's really up to you. I can leave the meeting open and, still turn off the sound, and then you can just edit if you want. It'll just be your faces. It you're watching the video, it'll be, you know, you may still see, but you won't hear any sound when everybody's talking once I turn off the mics.
Okay.
And that would be fine, because I mean, I just think it would be best that way.
Okay.
If it was,
And it's recorded, and if
Right.
anybody wants the evaluation afterwards, it's public
yeah,
record.
the evaluation is a
It's
public
not-
record, so
Yeah.
they can get access to it,
Yeah.
they need to see it, need to review it.
Okay.
Like I said, that's just the way we've traditionally done it with her position.
Right.
so.
I think whatever you just said, that was best.
Okay. I'll go ahead and turn this off.